we finished our redaction and annotations. Now we're going to move into coding and relation groups. I'm going to jump back to the first record in our database, and we talked a little bit about that tagging and coding. You'll notice on the right side of my screen here, we have what we call layouts and relativity. Layouts are web-based coding forms for storing and bibliographical data and metadata about a record. I'll be tagging and coding the structure used for my review team. They are highly customizable and completely securable from user to user and group to group. Right now, as you can see, I'm logged in as a power user. So you'll see I have a host of coding forms available to me. The form that actually called coding looks like it's concerned with a lot of tag issues here. The first level pass review looks to be very limited and have very little bibliographical data. If I were to hit the first level review, I'd probably be locked down to coding form, or I wouldn't see all of these that are listed here. I'd only see the forms that include the decisions I needed to make. That's the benefit of using relativity. You can only see what you actually need to be looking at, so you're not concerned about other things. There is one thing here about assigning documents, another for authoring our privilege log, and then you can also see all the fields appear to be read-only metadata that are about the record. Let's go back to the coding. Here you can place rules on these layouts to ensure the quality and consistency of the review. For instance, I can make a field a read-only, like the control number or the custodian file, and even though I am in edit mode, this form I can't edit these fields. Moving on to the next thing here, let me show you that, see this orange box here? It means that the field is required throughout relativity. So for a particular coding form, it looks like a responsiveness is a required decision. If I were to uncheck any values and try to save it, it would not allow me to do so, and it would make you make a decision before you could move forward. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about the propagination rules. Let's say I tag a record as privileged and I want the designation to automatically paginate to another member of the record family or any duplicate in the system. The copy from previous rules allows the copy and coding decision from one document to be used for the next one. Particularly useful in batches of documents that are assigned out to reviewers based on conceptual similarity, where quite often the documents will be coded the same. We can also set up advanced logic on these enforced best practices and workflow rules. Maybe in this particular review, there's a rule that says, and I'll read it, at this stage a record cannot be tagged or both privileged and responsive at the same time. So if that happens, we try and save it, the designation, it won't allow the save, stating that a document cannot be marked as responsive and privileged. So that's another feature that relativity offers. Or if I were going to a different place in my review, or if someone were to tag this document as privileged, they would have to pick a deeper determination from one of the subsets. So at this point, maybe we would give them a warning that the subset must be selected or save will not be allowed. Even if the setup rules where someone comes in and tags something as super hot, we want to force them to leave a comment explaining the designation. Or if they tag a record as an inflago, in addition to that comment, we're going to shoot off an email to the lead partner in the case saying something like, this document's been tagged as inflago, here's the hyperlink, you may want to take a look at it. So some review platforms let you tag as reviewed, but we can set up these smart criteria to manage the process. So maybe if responsiveness, confidentiality, privileged have all been addressed, we're going to automatically have the document flagged as reviewed and shot off to a second-tiered reviewer. So what really we're trying to do is give you the tools to sit down with a case team, come up with the best practices workflow for review, then solidify and automate these features. Then everyone has the decision, documents, information they need to be very fluid, automated, without tons of erroneous noise in a way that doesn't concern them. Let me at this point stop and ask, are there any questions regarding the layouts and relativity? No questions. Okay. All right, so now we're going to move on and we're going to talk about some related items. We're going to go back to the first section where we had a few documents saved. As you see, we can see the Excel doc, the PowerPoint, the Word doc in Korean. Remember we talked about that, and a document that had been tracked changes. Maybe I don't have the pagination rules for the family groups turned on, but I know that all of these records are responsive, that I can do a take of mass action on these 6 here. I can edit them. I can make mass determinations here. I tag them all as responsive, then I hit save. The next we'll talk about the control number and the location, but instead of location, maybe we could change and show privilege designation, because we want to do a quick QC of the duplicates of privileged documents are being coded in the system. We can also view the similar document information, and that's whether we're using similar document detection that's built into Relativity and powered by the analytics engine, or if we process the data through our tool prior to bringing it to Relativity. Relativity keeps a full audit history of every user action in the system. Whether the records are reviewed, if they're updated, who did it, when they did it, how they did it, with all the pagination rules we talked about, and directly edit the record. As you can see, I can click here and take a look at the details. I can export this. I can see a full audit history of the record right here. I can filter down on it. Maybe I'm interested in updates to this record, so I can see every update that has happened to the record. In a side note, what we're looking at here, all things that we audit can be reported on. So whether you want to see how far the review-based responsive designations or productivity records or reports to see how many documents per hour or edits per hour your reviewers are doing, all of that can be ran in Relativity through this application. Finally, circling back, full production history is available through Relativity. So the production of this AS01 document, as we're looking at, the dates where it's been produced, as you can see right here, the beginning and end dates. I can kick this out to an Excel if I want. Maybe I want to look at and see actually when it went out in the Acme production. I can see that it went out right here on the screen, September of 2008. So that's when I'm going to go to the production radio button and get a quick look at it. Looks like it was stamped as confidential. There was some redactions on it. Maybe I'm curious to look at the record back in the Chicago production. That was almost a year earlier, in June of 2009. Right, same thing, Chicago production, pull down the drop menu, pretty different. There's some different redactions. It looks like it wasn't confidential then. So that's a quick and easy way to view all the various productions and see how the differences between them without having to look through different databases or having to convolute the workflow. Any questions so far to this point about the native file reviewer before we move on to workflow and navigation? No questions? Okay. Thank you very much.